It's crazy how the dynamics of an organization can change literally almost in an instant. When you look at the Indianapolis Colts and how things have progressed since Andrew Luck's rookie season, 2012, make the playoffs, lose in the opening round. 2013, you make the playoffs, you win a playoff game, get to the division round. 2014, you get to the playoffs and you make it to the AFC Championship game before you're steamrolled by the Patriots. The point being, to go from the season that they had in 2011 to then stumbling into the franchise guy to replace the ultimate franchise guy for them in Peyton Manning, and then make the playoffs 3 straight years and progress to the next round each of the next 3 years, you kind of had a feeling, at least some people did, that it's not if, but when and how soon that this team should, in theory, be able to get to a Super Bowl. Like, this was going to be the team that should have been able to ultimately usurp the New England Patriots in the AFC and be the team that ran the show in that conference for years to come. And over the past couple of years, that just hasn't happened. Andrew Luck struggled to stay healthy. This team too often gets too far behind, in part because their offense struggles early on in games to get some momentum and get some flow, get some rhythm. The defense has been terrible. They give up 3 touchdowns like it's nothing, and you're down 21-0 in the second quarter. It's really hard to play consistent competitive football doing that. And part of that is because Ryan Grigson was in over his head. Ryan Grigson was a tool, and ultimately Ryan Grigson was finally sent packing. So the Indianapolis Colts brought in Chris Ballard from the Kansas City Chiefs, and you could say officially that his era begins, as does the Chuck Pagano watch. And I will say, the early returns I feel like on Chris Ballard have been positive. You look at some of the additions in free agency, bringing in guys like Jamal Sheard and John Simon, not having to break the bank to bring them in, guys like Jonathan Hankins as well. Those are some good, adequate signings on the defensive side of the football to begin the process of trying to build an NFL caliber defense, which is striking because you would think with a defensive-minded head coach like Chuck Pagano that the defense wouldn't be nearly the issue that it is. And then you look at Ballard's work in the 2017 NFL Draft, Malik Hooker and Quincy Wilson, Terrell Basham, Anthony Walker. You're looking at 4 guys there on the defensive side of the ball that I think all have a chance to start sometime this year. So some of the pieces could slowly but surely be starting to fall into place. And you take that with a team that has Andrew Luck as their starting quarterback, an offensive line that this organization has invested in at least a little bit in terms of recent marquee draft picks, the Mewhorts of the worlds, the Ryan Kellys of the worlds. You've got T.Y. Hilton on the outside, Dante Moncrief on the other side. You still have some parts of a core that isn't that bad. But there are just so many problems, it seems like, with the Indianapolis Colts. You've got Andrew Luck coming off of his shoulder injury. Very doubtful he's playing in week number 1, and not, the way it sounds to me, he hasn't even practiced yet as of the time of this recording, is how many weeks is he actually going to miss? And if the Colts keep him on the physically unable to perform list, he's going to have to miss at least the first 6 weeks of the 2017 season. I don't know if he's going to miss that many games, but I feel like they could put him on the active roster, make him inactive for 2 or 3 of them, which is not a desirable situation for anybody to take your franchise quarterback and have to bench him the first couple of games of the year because he's not healthy enough to play. And then on top of that, you start to worry about the fact that Andrew Luck's having a kidney issue here, an abdominal tear here, a shoulder injury there. His body's starting to get beat up a little bit. And then when you combine that with the fact that this is a team, even with a guy like Frank Gore, struggles to consistently run the football, and in particular, philosophically, stay determined to run the football, and a team that still, even with some of the additions they've made, will still struggle on all 3 levels of the defense, and especially, which has been a notorious problem the past couple of years under the Pagano era, this team falls behind so early so often that Luck has to do all these heroics. They're trying to play catch-up and everything else. So you look at this Colts team and it's like they should be better. And the reality is they're just not. And even the past couple of years, I've given this organization the benefit of the doubt, and I assure you, I'm not anymore. In terms of X factors or players to watch for this team, I think on the offensive side, it's Andrew Luck for the entire team. Because if he misses several games, and or even when he does come back, he still has a lingering issue. It causes him to miss more games, or he's not as effective. Their season is toast. Pagano is fired, and then you're going into the upcoming offseason wondering what the hell are you going to do as an organization. Defensively, I think Malik Hooker, your first-round pick that you had fall into your lap, is he going to be the marquee piece for that defense for years to come? I believe he's going to. But ultimately, only time will tell. And he is going to play for Chuck Pagano for at least a year, so this guy could potentially screw him up really, really bad. But ultimately, it's not going to matter. Because if Luck can't play and play at a high level, this team is going nowhere. Nowhere. And when you look at their schedule, I know the first couple of games, two of their first three are potentially winnable. I think they've got like the Jets and the Browns, and you sandwich in there a game against Arizona. So if they do miss Luck the first couple of games, there's a chance they might be able to find a way to win one or two of them. But when you look later on in the year, the last 6 weeks of the season, they host Tennessee, they go to Jacksonville, at Buffalo, Denver, at Baltimore, Houston. They've got 3 divisional games. They've got road games against Buffalo and Baltimore, and the other game where they host is the Denver Broncos. So not a easy path at the end of the season. But at this point in time, I don't even know if it matters. I mean, as much as I talked about with the Jets, that they're clearly tanking and Todd Bowles is on the hot seat and he could potentially be the first coach fired, and I still think that's the way it's going to be, it could get ugly early with Chuck Pagano, especially if there's no Andrew Luck. And you could say, well, if Luck's not there, they're going to give him time once he gets there, and that could be. But I wonder if the players are done with Pagano. Like, it's all cute and great about the story of him overcoming leukemia and everything else, and it gives everybody all the warm and fuzzy feelings in the world. Ultimately, though, is the guy the right guy to lead your franchise as the head coach in the future? And I think at this point in time, I'm frankly surprised he's still there. I don't think he is. I just don't think he is. And I worry about early in the season, if you lose a couple of games early and Luck's not healthy, and he doesn't play, or he's not that healthy and he's not that effective and he's cold and he's out of rhythm, this team could really struggle early. And I wonder if that point in time, if that team in that locker room is going to feel like it's a lost season and they're playing for a lost head coach, and all of it's going to kind of come crumbling down. And while the Colts play in a softer division in the AFC South, and there's no question about it, part of the reason that division is soft, frankly, is because the Colts aren't that good. Even with some of the young talent, in my opinion, that they've brought in, their defense has holes all over the place. And offensively, Frank Gore is another year older. I like Marlon Mack, but is he going to be an every down ball carrier for them right away? Are they going to give him the opportunity? Are they going to primarily roll with like a Frank Gore and maybe somebody like Robert Turbin? I don't know. Are they going to stay committed enough to the running game to take some pressure off of Andrew Luck? Are they going to be able to protect Luck on a consistent basis? There's just questions all over the place to me. And maybe this is the year I'm wrong on them in the reverse, but I think the Colts are one of those teams that you could look at things getting ugly and getting ugly very quickly. And as a result, I have them picked to finish last in the AFC South and going something like 5-11. Because to me at this point, if Andrew Luck's not even throwing yet, or more so not even practicing with the team yet, it makes me wonder what's really going on. And especially if Luck doesn't play for a good portion of the season, it'd be a real struggle to figure out how the Colts are even going to win 3 games, let alone the 5 that I'm giving them. It's just a really hard team to pick for right now. Because in that crappy division, or mediocre division, I should say, if Andrew Luck's healthy, they have a chance. But that is a mighty big if. And some of the other teams in the division did improve themselves in different areas. And ultimately, where the Colts maybe got better in terms of some of the young talent on defense and some of the people they brought in, their defense was so bad, I just don't know how much of a difference it makes at this point in time. And again, ultimately, if Luck's not healthy, Luck's not productive, Luck's not effective, it doesn't matter. 3 months from now, I could look back at this and think I'm absolutely crazy and Luck could be an MVP candidate. But right now, with a new general manager, deep down, he's got to be dying to bring in his own guy. I think this season could spell impending disaster for the Indianapolis Colts, and they could end up with a top 7 or 8 pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. Bottom line, Colts fans, my prediction, take it for what it is. I think this team is going to be a big disappointment this year.